Action!
The setting isn't La Jolla, but the Malibu Bluffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean are close enough. And this is where they're filming the opening scenes for the Elizabeth Broderick story.
And then you realize there's something in the carriage that says, yeah, says that.
Okay.
Okie doke, here we go.
The highly publicized case about the woman who shot and killed her ex-husband and his second wife in the bedroom of their home grabbed a lot of people's attention, including Meredith Baxter's.
If it frightens me, it interests me. I should be doing it, I think.
She plays Betty Broderick, a well-bred, well-educated socialite married to a charismatic million-dollar-a-year malpractice attorney. They became the storybook couple, but their story turned into a bitter and deadly saga.
I don't see this as just a woman who has gone loony and killed two people. It's much more complicated than that.
The script is based on an LA Times Magazine article and transcripts from the first trial, which ended in a hung jury. The title, Till Murder Do Us Part, may change depending on the outcome of the second trial. This is, after all, a movie, even though it's based on a true story, but the actors and actresses in it want to make sure that the portrayal of their characters is absolutely fair and accurate. Stephen Collins says he's talked with Dan Broderick's friends and even read autopsy reports to help him with his role.
I thought, well, now why would I want to read that? It doesn't really, and then I thought, well, it'll tell me something about the position that he was in when he was shot. So you want to know those things, and you have the advantage when you're playing a real person of actually knowing the real position and not guessing, which is kind of interesting.
For actress Michelle Johnson, who plays Dan Broderick's new wife, it's the first time she's ever portrayed a real person.
I just see her as a very strong, loving, giving, passionate woman who just got really caught up in a terrible circumstance.
But despite the movie's attempts at fairness, friends of Dan Broderick say they wished it wasn't being filmed at all.
He was a quality human being, one of the finest human beings I've ever met. And you know, we're not dumb. We could have seen that. None of that is, it really comes through in this script. And I didn't expect that it would, because it financially makes sense to present a more sensational story.
Monahan reviewed the scene we shot where Dan tells Elizabeth Broderick during happier times about a big settlement he won for a client. Only the words and mannerisms aren't befitting the Dan that he knew.
Something like that where they like run to each other and they give each other the high five and go, yes, after they do that. That's not the kind of thing
That's crap. That's not Dan.
What did you expect of a husband in marriage?
Expected him to be nice and be supportive and be the father of my children, and that we'd live happily ever after.
But it never came close for Elizabeth and Dan Broderick.
I don't know the details of Betty Broderick's life, but I think that the pain of the dissolution of that marriage might not have been so great if she had had an investment in another activity, in another interest, another passion outside of that marriage.
Stand by.
Meredith Baxter, who plays Betty Broderick in the movie, says she was stunned by the huge response to an LA Times Magazine article that chronicled the rise and fall of the couple's marriage and the bloody killings that followed. Elizabeth Broderick's attorney says if the movie is largely based on that piece, then it is not the truth.
But this is not a story where they're saying that anyone should understand that Elizabeth Broderick also for 20 hard years through 9 pregnancies and some very horrible things by Dan Broderick, was basically everything was taken away. Just completely destroyed with complete malice.
B-Mark.
The movie is in its first week of production and will likely wrap up filming before the verdict from Broderick's second trial is in. They're changing the names of the children, they say, to protect their identity. In real life, nearly everyone who's heard the Broderick story has something to say about it either way, nothing in between. Here on set, it's no different, whether you're in front of the camera or off.
The man leaving the woman for a younger woman, that happens kind of frequently. Maybe it just kind of hits a chord.
Mothers of some of the child extras on the set are quick to react to the emotional side of the issue.
I mean, it's such a extreme to carry it. But, I mean, she does seem like her whole life was turned upside down.
That you can tell, 16 years of marriage, you can tell by his body language that something big has happened.
Action!
Actor Stephen Collins is bothered by how widespread and deep-seated the response is to this case.
While I understand the emotional issues that the case raises, I find it frightening that people can't get beyond them. It tells me how big those emotional issues are and how right beneath the surface they're obviously bubbling, but geez, it scares me.
But the woman who plays Dan Broderick's second wife sums it up this way.
Life's so short as it is, and then to live your life in fear and have all this anger and this just craziness, I just think it's so unnecessary.
Marianne Kushi, News 8.